Hello, everyone. I am Lynn. I call myself Dream Girl Writer, and I'm coming to you today with a wisp of wisdom that came to me as a result of an experience recently, or several experiences actually. And I coined a soul bite, as I do sometimes with the wisdom that comes from my dreams and my waking life experience. And I wanted to read that to you. I keep my heart open without defense, reaction, or pretense to receive love's greatest rewards. And to bring this down to a practical level, how this came to me was I had an experience with a new friend, a person whom I was just getting to know. And there was a period of time or an event, we spent some time together. And at the end of, probably about 4 hours together, she got triggered by something that I said and kind of went off on me in a volatile manner. And in trying to figure out what it was I said, or maybe even explain myself or justify myself, I kind of made it worse. And she kept getting more and more upset until we had to part ways. I had to go home and leave her company. And then the next day, when I woke up, I was very confused about how I had triggered her because I had not meant to. And yet, in musing upon it and knowing that I had recently just met her and was simply still getting to know her, I mused upon the kind of signs that I had seen up until then that she was volatile and she had an air about her that she could deal with things. And I took her at her word instead of being more gentle and taking it easy in my friendship with her. And I'm the kind of person that kind of goes wholeheartedly into relationships and can become very intimate very quickly. And she was not. And I saw the signs of that, of our chemistry being imbalanced in that way. And I didn't take heed of that. And so this conflict happened. The next day after it happened, I called her and I apologized. And I said, I'm so sorry if I offended you or if I said something inappropriate or I was insensitive to you. And I didn't hear from her for about a week. And when I did, she accepted my apology. And that was about it. And neither of us made plans to move on. And I felt like that was such a gift. First of all, that I did apologize, even though I kind of sort of felt like her outburst or her accusations of me were undeserved. I still apologize because I was the only other person in the room. And so if conflict occurs, all of the people who are involved have to take responsibility for that conflict. And the other thing that I realized was that I had failed to pay attention to the signs about her and I being on different pages emotionally, so to speak, or even spiritually to that level. And it was such a great lesson to receive that humbling because even though we can do our inner work and feel very grounded and spiritually centered when we're by ourselves, the real test of whether we are truly aware and truly evolving in a spiritual way is when we interact with others. And that soul bite that I wrote, I keep my heart open without defense or reaction or pretense, that is a practice that I was trying to do. I have been trying to do in recent months. And when I met this person, she came on a little strong with her admiration of me and her pursuit of wanting to do things with me and be with me. And I actually, in, at first I kind of felt uncomfortable about that, like it was too much for me. And, but then I kind of accepted it. But I went into that kind of, seductive stage of the admiration. Like I felt good about it. And I felt like I wanted to give her my time and attention because she so admired me. And there's danger there because both of us were being slightly disingenuous about how we really felt. And when that conflict happened, it was those things, those untruths, those that misfire between us, that lack of us being on the same page emotionally and in terms of intimacy that caused that conflict. And so when I resolved it for myself, I felt like moving on from here, if I see her, or I have an opportunity to be with her, I will consider that. But I kind of feel like it was a karmic incident that has already given me the gift. I've learned the lesson and probably will either not see her again or just see her in passing, and we'll both be happy with that. And the the practice that I was doing of keeping my heart open has now been, I have now added a component to that I didn't have before this conflict. And that is one has to always pay attention to whether the other person is able to receive that intimacy that comes from keeping one's heart open. So, in other words, I'm the type of person that can handle intimacy flowing both ways. And that has come about by a lot of hard work. At this point in her life, she had trouble receiving the intimacy, and yet, because she wanted it so badly, she was unable to refuse it. And it's kind of on me because if I'm the giver and I'm overgiving and oversharing who I am or the the things that feel comfortable to me, if I'm unaware or I'm ignoring the signs of how that may be too much for someone else, then it's on me if a conflict occurs. And that was the message that really was brought home to me, is that open-heartedness also requires a refinement of discernment. It requires a little bit of boundaries in certain situations because you can't just go out and, it's almost like I remember when the Jesus freaks were going about, and I say that with all due respect and compassion, but it was a time in my university years, I think, that this kind of movement started about honoring Jesus and being the religious practices that came up about that time. And I remember, those of us who felt that we were on a spiritual path, but did not require the structure of religion, as some people believed, that we kind of, I wouldn't say we looked down our noses at them, but we kind of kept them at bay. And that's what we have to do. We're never going to be exactly on the same page with anyone. And if we are sharing ourselves and our intimacy, and if we are open-hearted, we still have to recognize that that may be too much for some people. And like a dog, the best way to approach a dog that you don't know is to let him or her come to you. It's the same way, if I am open hearted, people who are ready to accept that open heartedness will come to me. And if there are signs that there's discomfort on either of our parts, then I should pay attention to those signs and I should take them under the counsel of my heart, and keep discerning where those boundaries are. It doesn't mean shutting my heart down. It doesn't mean shutting people out. It means having compassion for the fact that I can be too much for some people. And it's a beautiful thing to have learned that lesson. And I really feel grateful to this woman, and and feel like if there is a relationship in our future, a friendship in our future, that I will be ready to do it with discernment, to keep my heart open and keep my awareness and my attention based on respect for the other person as well as respect for myself. And so there you have it. And thank you for listening. And I'm going to read you this soul bite one more time and leave you with this in your life so that maybe it can be helpful for you in your relationships. I keep my heart open without defense, reaction, or pretense to receive love's greatest reward. And love's greatest reward, of course, is love itself returned. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.